Okay, we're going to quickly review changing fractions to decimals. So as you can see on this first page here, I have some examples. I have 1/10, 2/10, and 3/10. So tenths are actually very easy to write as decimals because in decimals, you know that we have, like over here on the left, if I have my decimal, I have a tenths place. Then next we would have the hundredths place. And then we would have the thousandths place. Okay, and it keeps going, obviously, but those are the three places we are dealing with. So if I have a fraction that is over 10, then I can simply just write it as a decimal by putting the numerator in the tenths place. So 1/10 as a fraction is 1 over 10. 1/10 as a decimal is simply 0.1. Out loud, both of them would just say 1/10. It's going to say the exact same thing. So again, we have 2 over 10, 2/10, 0.2. 3 over 10, 3/10 equals 0.3. So if I wanted to keep going, 4/10 would be 0.4. And then 5/10, which is also 1/2, so 0.5. Any fraction that's equal to 1/2 is also 0.5. So I could say 2/4, 3 over 6, 4 over 8, 5 over 10, 6 over 12. Any fraction that's half is equivalent or equal to 5/10, 0.5. And then 6/10 would be 0.6. A few more here for the tenths. 7/10 would be 0.7. 8/10 is 0.8. 9/10 is 0.9. And then 10/10 would be equal to 1 whole, which we could just leave as 1 whole, but if we wanted to put it in decimal form, I can put decimal 0 or 0.00000. You can put as many zeros on the end of a decimal that you want to, and you're not going to change the value. So that's how to change tenths. Well, what about another type of fraction? What about fourths? Okay, so fourths are like quarters. Think about money. They're 25 cents each. Or as a fraction, that'd be 25 out of 100, because you know that 100 cents equals 1 whole dollar. So 100 cents equals $1. So if I have 4 quarters, well, 25 cents each. Well, that equals $1. So that's what we're going to think about as we're dealing with fourths. So if I have 1/4, that's like 1/4. That would be like saying I have 25 cents. Or as a fraction, 25 out of 100. That's why if I look at my decimal, it goes out to the hundredths place, 25 hundredths. Or if I have 2 out of 4, 2 quarters, well, that's also half. Remember, that's a half fraction. We said all fractions that are half are 0.5. But if I'm thinking of money, I can say 0.50, which is the same thing as 50 out of 100. So you can kind of see a pattern. Again, if you're thinking about money, we have 3/4. That would be 0.75. Or if we have 4/4, it would be 1 whole dollar, or we can even write it like this. Okay, so that's how you change fourths to decimals. But what about fifths? Okay, fifths are a little bit trickier. It says for fifths, we turn them into tenths by making equivalent fractions. So here's an example down here. If I have 1/5, I don't have a fifths place. Remember, I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. I do not have a tenth or a fifths place. I do have a tenths place. So if I multiply them both by 2, as you see here, it changes it to an equivalent fraction of 2/10. Remember, it's really easy to write 2/10 as a decimal, 0.2. So that also means 1/5 is 0.2 because they're equivalent fractions. So here I have some models. So modeling, this would be 1/5, this would be 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. Now, if I wanted to make them a decimal, well, I would first have to change them to tenths. So that would be 2/10, and that's 0.2. Also, if I look at my model and I cut my model into different piece sizes, well, now I'm modeling 2 out of 10 instead of 1 out of 5. If I go to my next one, 2/5, well, then I can do times 2 times 2. That will give me 4/10. That will give me 0.4. Okay, again, if I cut those up differently, now that model is showing 4 out of 10 instead of 2 out of 5. So the pattern continues. Times 2 times 2, I get 6 out of 10, and that is 0.6. Again, I can change my piece sizes all I want to. 4/5 times 2 times 2, that equals 8 out of 10, or 0.8. Again, I can show that in my model. Last but not least, I have 5 out of 5. Now, I recognize immediately that's one whole, but I can still show it as 10/10, and that's still 1.0. As long as you recognize that a fraction's one whole, you don't have to change it to tenths, but I just wanted to show you that it still works. And you notice there's a pattern. If I kind of notice 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's not really counting by 2s. It's counting by 2/10, but it reminds you of skip counting by 2s. So that's another way you can remember your fifths. It's like you're skip counting. All right. So we're going to leave this right here. But again, this is just a quick video of what we've already covered in class, just to refresh your memory. And we're going to keep practicing.